Jason Resler is in the Springs. Well, and that's one thing I was going to ask you about, man. Your schedule is insane. I mean, you are a road dog by every every sense of the word. I mean, do you enjoy that? I mean, obviously you do. You've been doing it for a good long while now.
It's the only way I've been able to make money in the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, of course I love it. I miss my kids. They're grown now though, so that's gone away a little.
Are they supportive?
Oh, very. They're both big fan. They come out to show. I mean, I hate to call my kids fans. It's kind of silly, but for example, my son came on his 18th birthday. He was there at my show.
Oh, no kidding.
My daughter did stand up when she was 6 years old.
I saw that.
And killed
at the ice house, right? I mean, it was
at Laughs Unlimited.
Gotcha.
But,
okay. But it was a real club. This wasn't a family reunion.
Of that, real club. She's 6 years old. She had her little pigtails on, a little polka dot dress, patent leather shoes.
Fantastic.
Her opening line, she goes up in the nightclub. She just looks around. Could you believe they asked me for my ID to get in this place?
You gotta be kidding.
Luckily, Dad knows how to make them.
Right. Yeah. Well, and when you're in high school, you always think, well, this is who I am and this is who I'll be forever. And so when you do see people make these transformations, you're like, holy crap, I did not see Jason getting up on stage to tell jokes. That wasn't his personality in high school.
Yeah. I was I was the last one to find out I wasn't going to be a Major League Baseball player.
Right. Well, yeah, and that was another thing. You're pretty serious into following Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I do shows every spring. I go down to Arizona and do shows for the spring training fans, and I've had a lot of major leaguers and some Hall of Famers come out to my shows.
No kidding.
And I've experienced. Many times, having guys that I had their baseball cards when I was a kid come up and say, man, great show, to have somebody that you idolized as a kid pat you on the back, I've got to wear that's a Giants World Series replica ring, but I've got pictures of the real rings on my hands, just because of the situations I've been in.
So this was a good year for you then. You're a Giants fan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was unexpected. I mean, I don't want to turn it into a sports talk show, but
and the love of the game for you comes from being a player in high school. Is that?
Yeah, actually, I played in men's leagues up until I was 36 years old. I played in Weekend Warrior hardball leagues.
Oh my gosh!
And a lot of times you're playing against pitchers that did play in the minor leagues or major leagues. I brag. I hit a double off of a former major league pitcher for the Giants, Jim Barr, once. Of course, he was about 57 years old, and I was about 28 when I hit it. But
you can leave that out of the story. Nobody needs to know the details in that. Oh, that's awesome, man. Exactly.
I'll take it.
And I really do think that idea of making it, like you said, is really defined in your head. It has nothing to do with any outside influence. If this is what your goal was,
I would like it to be. Ideally, for a mentally strong person, it is in your own head. Unfortunately, we all have families and people we care about that all have their opinions chirping in. And
absolutely.
None of these people know a damn thing about stand-up comedy.
Right.
They barely know anything about life. Matter of fact, these people I'm talking about are almost dead now. But, you still care about their opinion for some stupid reason. And, a lot of times that negativity from family, it can bring you down, especially when you're on the road, So I've struggled with that in my career. The road can be really lonely and...
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. And I know one of the things that was on your webpage, sort of an anecdotal thing, is that you're an 80s hair metal fan. And it looked like a lot of the, the tour posters that you've got on your site, it really has that road dog hair.
Oh, thank you for picking up on that.
Oh, man, and I love that. I mean, I was always enamored with that world growing up, because you and I are about the same age. I'm 43. Motley Crue, Warren, that whole scene was my world. And the idea of living out of a van and eating shitty food, I wanted that. I wanted to do that.
When I was a teenager growing up in Sacramento, The second job I ever had, I was 16. I was working for a pizzeria, Shakey's Pizza.
I remember Shakey's, yeah.
And across the street there in Sacramento, just outside of Sacramento, was this club called the Shire Road Pub, which was a rock and roll club. Well, to get to the guts of the story, Tesla, who's from Sacramento, was playing the gig. They came across the street to watch their music video debut on our big screen TVs. Oh. So when they were watching their debut on MTV, I was serving their beer and pizza.
Oh, dude, I hate you a little bit right now. That is
when you're pretty good at what you love, and like I said, this isn't like baseball. There's no expiration. Right. You know, it's not like, oh, okay, I didn't get drafted. Damn, I really gave it a shot.
Right.
But no teams picked me, so I'll just go, to work in the mines.
Right.
This is like I'm good enough to work every weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get to an age where people say, "Oh, you're too old." I mean, a lot of old men comics are great comics.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's a blessing, but it's also a curse.
Yeah. So what advice would you give, and I imagine you probably get approached all the time by comics that are coming up through the ranks. I mean, what advice do you give them in terms of a career choice? Hey, when you get into this is what you can expect, or this is what I've experienced, and things you need to do.
So I would say, a little part-time job until you get that big, huge break.
Yeah.
Even there might even be a period of time where, you can have 6 great months. And that's really hard to do in this.
Right.
Have 6 great months where you're solid booked, and then all of a sudden you have that one bad month, and that sets you back for another 6 months.
Right.
Now you just had a mediocre year. As far as on stage, I would say I know there's a lot of people, there's a lot of comics nowadays that they're more just fans of stand-up comedy than they are comedians themselves.
Yeah.
That's part of what happened to the business is nobody can just be a fan anymore. Everybody's got to, take their turn at bat,
Right.
And who am I to say they shouldn't follow, and go for it too? I mean, I wouldn't want anybody to tell me that. So of course, go for it. But there's a lot of comics, the newer comics, who watch, and they could tell you all the famous comedians that got their special on Netflix. They know all the bits and everything. And I think that's good. I think there should be a couple of year period where you listen to every comic that you can, watch every comedian that you can see. But then on the flip side, there also has to be a 3, 4, maybe 5-year period where you don't watch anybody's comedy at all. And you got to have both of those.
Where it gives you a chance to figure out, well, who am I? What am I trying to say? I'm not Bill Burr. I'm not Sam Kinison. I like both of those guys,
right.
And I'm going to maybe pick up bits and pieces.
I mean, in my personality, it only took one time of somebody saying, you kind of sound like you're a little bit of Hedberg, a little bit, and nobody was accusing me of stealing any bits.
Right.
But somebody, that's kind of that bit. That's kind of really a tell. Like, no, that's my bit. No, I know it's your bit. It just sounds like something he would say.
Wow.
And that's a compliment. Maybe it was meant as a compliment in a way.
Yeah.
But there was one particular headliner, Steve Brewer, who called me out, I guess, for lack of a better word, of just sounding a little too much like them. Not, and you don't have to be stealing bits. It's it's just like what you were talking about. If you're a band continually listening to these artists, so you got to take and even becoming a hybrid of, I think for a long, my second album, I think it was a hybrid of Dave Attell type stuff to Mitch Hedberg type stuff. If you could imagine those two melded, and that's kind of what I was doing. But then I was like, oh, is that really me? So I, re-scrapped. And I'm from the Carlin school of thought. I like the idea of building a library of my material.
Right.
He said he likes to put them up there on the shelf. Have a new hour every year and a half or so, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do too.